Hey guys, today I'll be counting down the top 10 most overrated units in Battlecats. Now just a disclaimer, this is probably going to be my most controversial video. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't agree with me with this, and that's going to be okay. I know that what overrated is kind of subjective word. How I describe it is that if the community, the Battlecats community, considers a unit to be higher value than what I consider that unit's value to be, that is what I'll consider to be overrated. And the 10 units I think that the community overvalues the most is going to be the top 10 most overrated units in this video. Now keep in mind that there are thousands of units in Battlecats, so I may have missed a couple. Now, with all that said and done, let's get straight into the video. Don't get me wrong, Cyberpunk is undoubtedly a top 10 unit in the game, and is mandatory for many stages. However, he has one weakness, although this also doubles as his balancing factor, his blind spot. Obviously, he would be absolutely broken without it. Cyberpunk with Pierce would probably be the best unit in the game, and it wouldn't be even close. When enemies, particularly fast ones, get into his blind spot, you can be overwhelmed, especially if he's your only crowd controller. You can protect him with other units, especially if you have another crowd controller, such as Urine Wolf, or like Casley, which is why I think he's only slightly overrated, putting his place at the number 10 spot on my list. Rare Cat comes in at number 9 as a very essential part of beating early game bosses such as Bun Bun. Unfortunately, he has single target, which is a minor weakness to be sure, but it makes him fall off later on, especially when there are more consistent attackers such as Cameraman. Even Dual Dragons, a mid-game strategy using crazed and normal dragons, is easily outclassed by other strategies. However, it is definitely useful in early bosses, which is why I think he's only... Ramiel, the best Juba in the game. Ha ha ha. Ramiel is a very polarizing unit, with having ultra long distance, insanely good pierce, great debuffs, all around just a fantastic Uber for floating enemies. However, this does come with a couple weaknesses. First of all, her HP, 25,000 HP, is not enough to sustain her on the battlefield for very long, and you probably won't be able to replace her due to her 266 second cooldown. Her attack frequency is way too long, being 22 seconds. This doesn't even include her force wing, meaning you'll rarely get coverage by her. So overall, well, not a bad unit to be sure, and pretty useful in some floating stages when you need another backliner to help Cyberpunk out. I do believe she is overrated, as some people think she's the best anti-floating in the game, which I don't believe she is. Cyborg Cat takes the number 7 spot on the list. Cyborg is a menace in early game and mid game thanks to her high DPS when stacked and area attack. She is great for overwhelming stages and clearing peons. However, this is where it starts to go down. Cyborg is just simply outclassed. 900 cents is a lot for a spammable attacker, meaning she can't be used as well on stages where you are tight for cash. Additionally, other units such as Cameraman and Kasa Jizo provide much better value for their cost. A crutch for early to mid game and falling off later on, Cyborg comfortably rests at number 7 on my list. Now, another unit I think is overrated is Aphrodite. While Aphro is probably the best anti-alien Uber in the game, I do believe that she is slightly overrated. Not necessarily that people overrate her abilities, those are undeniably good, but her placement in the meta. A lot of people believe she is almost equivalent to Dark Casley or Mitama, but I don't think that is the case. She is considered by some, including me at one point, to be a top 10 Uber. However, with the addition of other top 10 Ubers such as Aku Casley, I don't know, and other units rising up the meta like Balrog and Yukimura, she has slightly fallen out. The current meta is very favorable to generalists, and while Aphrodite definitely has generalist value thanks to her high base DPS, she is most definitely a specialist unit. And while she is undoubtedly one of the best specialists in the game, and the best anti-Uber in the game, other Ubers such as Chronos and Phono can be used for all stages. Slots for a unit are precious, so it's usually optimal to go for generalist instead, of course, unless there's aliens in the stage. So while I don't think Aphrodite is overrated as a unit, she is definitely overrated for her placement in the meta. This giant of the unit is quite the good backliner, however there are some weaknesses I think that make him a little overrated. He has insane survivability, especially considered to the other Lugas, which are basically just pieces of paper. Shishilan passed along 100,000 HP coupled with his 100 knockbacks means that he'll survive on the battlefield for a very long time. However, this is a double-edged sword, as 100 knockbacks combined with his long attack animation means that he can be knocked back or juggled, so he'll never get an attack in. In addition to this, the category for backliners, especially Ubers, is stacked. This unfortunately means he can get outclassed. Ganesha, Castley, Dark Castley, Gao, Shadow Gao, Mitama, the list goes on and on. While Shishilan and Paslan is not horrible by any means, I use him a lot in some stages. There's the fact that he can simply be outclassed, and the fact that he can be juggled does not give a good look for him. Here we have Ultra Galaxy Cosmo, a very overrated unit. Let's talk about his strong points first. He has insanely long range and a pretty good debuff, freeze and knockback, which is decently good against angels and floatings. Plus, his Pierce is a very good ability that helps him keep back crowds. This unit performs well with Cyberpunk, especially since his Pierce can cover Cyberpunk's blind spot, making them a very formidable combo. Unfortunately, this is where his downsides begin. He has a very fast movement speed, which you might think is a good thing. However, this often makes him die as he runs into enemies. And since his knockback count is so low as well as his health, he often dies, and he is quite expensive to replace. If you don't know, when an enemy gets knocked back, there's a slight period of time where your units will move forward as they don't register them there in their standing range. So in that time, Ultra Galaxy Cosmo will rush forward and go deeper into enemy lines until he's either hit by a backliner or just a strong attack, meaning he can just disappear. And this is not good considering his high cost and long cooldown. Additionally, the area for crowd controllers is dominated by this rare cat known as Sanzo, who is exceptional. So while Ultra Galaxy Cosmo may be overrated, he still has the coolest attack animation in the game. Continuing the trend of overpowered units but still overrated, I present to you Balrog. Balrog has insane DPS, balanced by his single target. He is very cheap and recyclable, thanks to his very low cost and very low cooldown. He is easily a top 10 Uber in the game, and to late to endgame, he's top 5 for sure. However, his single target can get in the way sometimes. He can be overwhelmed by peon spam, similar to other kamikaze rushers such as Yukimura. He's not really a rusher to be fair, but still, this point stands, he gets overwhelmed by peons. Additionally, the amount of resources you have to pour into him for him to be good, a top 10 Uber, is a lot. It's a lot of resources. You have the talents, and then there's boosting. It's a lot of XP that you could be spending on other units. And to be fair, if there's any NP you want to spend on a unit, it would be this one. However, there's some units I think that take more priority, such as Cyberpunk and Bandcamp. But yeah, definitely not a bad unit. He's top 10 for sure, top 5. Amazing unit to have. Just overrated by the community, especially for the amount of resources it takes to bring him out to his best. The scapegoat of overrated units, I present to you Kasa Jizo. Kasa Jizo has many strong points, being a spammable AoE attacker, which are very commonly quite good. His DPS is extraordinary, especially considering his cost, and his cooldown is quite short. Pair this with his massive damage versus Angels and Blacks, this makes him the ultimate generalist with insane specialists, right? To some extent, yes. He is definitely a strong generalist that you can use on many stages and one of the best anti-blacks and angels in the game. However, this is where he starts to fall short. The problem with Kasa Jizo is that he can be surprisingly squishy. When he gets overwhelmed, he can get destroyed. So if you don't have a stack of like 5, 6, or 7 of them, just one Kasa Jizo isn't going to do much. This is a very common problem with spammable AoE attackers. However, the other AoE attackers aren't hailed as highly, such as Cyborg or Cameraman. When Kasa Jizo gets overwhelmed, he gets destroyed. A good example is if you use him against bosses with high DPS, such as Awakened Bahamut in Into the Future Chapter 3. He can die very easily and can thus be rendered useless as you cannot create a stack, which can be detrimental if Kasa Jizo is your main win condition. But the reason why Kasa Jizo has been from being one of the best supers in the game to falling off is because of one unit, Courier Cat. Courier Cat is objectively the better version of Kasa Jizo, except against Black and Angels. If you want to see a full analysis on Courier Cat and why he outclasses Kasa Jizo, check this video I made on him. Courier Cat is just an insane unit. I don't know why they added him. Ponus was on something for sure. Okay, before you start typing out your angry comments, Awaken Bahamut, it's the best, Awaken's the best unit in the game, he's top 5, X-Goal said so. I just want to let you know that Awaken Bahamut is the staple of No Gacha, and he's undoubtedly a very, very good unit. Let's go over his strong points. He has exceptional DPS, and a very fast movement speed, making him a rusher / nuker. His 6 knockbacks combined with his rebound means that you can usually get a lot of value out of him, especially on enemies that don't deal that much damage in one blow. He's also part of the cheesing meta, where you can use a variety of strategies to kill the base before the boss spawns or slightly after the boss spawns, so that you don't even have to play the boss. He is vital to many different stages of the game, and all the way from mid-game to you unlock him to all the way to end-game. He is useful all the time. He is undoubtedly a top 10 unit, I'm not denying that. However, I do think he is quite overrated, and the most overrated unit in the game. First of all, his HP. While 6 knockbacks does help him reposition, many bosses and backliners do a lot of damage in one blow, meaning that he can die in one shot, and while he's definitely good value for his cost, 4,500 just for him to die to some stupid tacky shot is just not worth it. Second is his ability, or rather inability, to clear peons, or get over them, more like. Peon spam can ruin Awaken Bahamut. While he does have area attack, he does not have a very high effective range and only can attack what's directly in front of him. Meaning that if he is spammed by a lot of peons, he may never actually do damage to what you actually want him to deal damage to, a boss, a high HP unit, and maybe stop by peons and then die. His 9 knockback is also a double-edged sword sometimes because it means he can be juggled, which to be fair doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen it feels horrible. Personally, I prefer to use more consistent units such as Dark Caslia's Gaia for my nuking abilities, but I won't deny that Awaken Bahamut is an insanely overpowered unit and is vital to many stages in the game. I just feel like the battlecats community feels that Awaken Bahamut is the perfect unit. No, he's not perfect, he does have some flaws, and some people think, oh, he's the best unit in the game. I do not think he is the best unit in the game. He is a very strong unit, however he does have his flaws. Obviously, all units have flaws, but I feel like people don't consider those flaws and just see his amazing nuking abilities and his rushing abilities, which is, to be fair, very good. So, while Awaken Bahamut is definitely overrated in my opinion, he is still one of the best units in the game, and I use him all the time. Thanks for watching, guys. I know you probably didn't agree with most of them, or maybe any of them, hopefully. Hopefully you agreed with at least a couple, but it took a lot of time researching and editing this video, so if you could subscribe, hit a like, drop a comment, that'd be very helpful as it helps me in the algorithm, and I am a small YouTuber, just trying to, expand. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, that means you watched the entire video. Thank you so much for doing that. That really helps support me. And if you have any other opinions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm a small YouTuber, so I do read all my comments. I'm thinking of making another video like this where I do top 10 most underrated units, and trust me, I feel a lot more confident on what I think the underrated units are in the battlecats. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. Bye bye.